Destination, New York City. The purpose? To uncover where my ancestors once lived when they arrived to America from Sicily. Well, initially I got distracted by some side quests, Broadway, the World Trade Center, the Jenga Tower, Scott dragging me to the Ghostbusters firehouse. I would not be swayed. I would discover where they walked, where they slept, and what life was really like for them in the year 1901.
Hi everyone, welcome to New York City for this episode of So I Married a Mennonite. Today we're going to be learning about my side of the family. My great-grandparents, Giovanni and Nina, were the Anselmos. They came here from Sicily where their families were dirt farmers in an area called Kokomo, about 30 minutes from Palermo. And they came here on a steamer ship just like thousands and thousands of other Italian Americans during this time period. Imagine coming from thousands of miles away and being plopped in the middle of this chaos. I struggle with audio and perceptual disabilities, and let me tell you, being in a city like New York for more than the weekend is a little bit much for my capacity. I can't imagine what a rural Italian farm person would have been feeling like. And then, of course, where did they hang their hat that very first night? Probably inside of a tenement. So together, our family is going to be learning about the Tenement Museum.
Welcome to the Tenement Museum, and we're going to go back in time to two different times in history and talk about two different families who lived in the building at different times but eventually overlapped and became very good friends. We're going to start with the Rogoszewski family. They were an immigrant family from Lithuania, from Eastern Europe. We're going to talk about identity, cultural and religious adaptation. What do you bring with you? How do you have to change who you are, maybe? What it's like to raise American children when you're not American yourself, and the role that the government is playing in helping people when it comes to housing and when it comes to the workplace. So those are really the themes, and we're going to do that through visiting the recreated homes of these two different families. The tenements were built as a solution to a housing crisis when so many people were coming to New York, and I'm talking before Ellis Island, and there was not enough housing. So this was the solution. Yeah, okay. The building is 5 stories high. There are 4 apartments on each floor. And in the basement of these buildings, we have commercial spaces. And the families who operate these businesses live behind them. Yeah, thank you
The mail slots.
What?
The mail slots, they would have.
Oh, yes. The building was abandoned for a long time, so we left some spaces the way we found them, and that's one of them. This is what we like to call a preserved space. When our first family moves here, the Rogoszewski, it's 1901, and the building is not yet equipped with indoor plumbing. Three rooms, kitchen, living room, bedroom. It's 325 square feet.
How many people lived in here?
By looking around, you wouldn't be able to guess. And I just want to say that the way people lived was different in the sense that not everybody gets a room, not everybody sleeps on a bed. The way I like to describe it is every room is a bedroom, but not everyone sleeps on the bed. In the case of this apartment, there are 10 people living here. Not that you would guess, right? So we have mom and dad, who are sharing that small bedroom. When a baby is born, that baby's going to stay with them for a little bit. How long? I'm not sure. We have two teenage girls, Ida and Bessie, who are 16 and 17 and 11, and they sleep on the small bed, and they describe it as sleeping nose to toes. Okay, so like that. And then we have four boys whose ages range from 3 to 15. So that's Samuel, Henry, Philip, and Morris. And they sleep on the sofa. There used to be a solid wall here, right? So this room was the only room with natural light. And as you got deeper into the apartment, it would have gotten darker and smaller. At the turn of the century, the same reformers who pushed for housing reform realized that there was a link between the conditions of living and the higher mortality rates. So the fact that these apartments are crowded, they're dark, humid, and poorly ventilated, which is a breeding ground for diseases. So with that in mind, they created this indoor window, which is, I know it's a little peculiar, but what's peculiar is that they also named the window after one of the deadliest diseases at the time, tuberculosis. So this is called a tubercular window. Named after tuberculosis. It's a little strange, right? And the point was to help, they thought by bringing light and air, you'd be able to contain the disease, which is not silly at all, but it didn't work. This is what they did with the knowledge they had. It wasn't a bad idea at all.
This is the Italian family. It would have been similar to Nina.
As we left the tenement building, we decided to go further on our quest to find where Nina and Giovanni would have originally stayed when they had first arrived from Italy. We had the opportunity a few years ago in 2017 to go with my immediate family to Giovanni and Nina's hometown of Kokomo, Sicily, and visit the original family farm. But no one in our family knew exactly where they settled prior to their marriage. So we were on a quest to find out.
So when you think about your great-great-grandfather coming from a tenement like that, because you've been to the farm in Sicily, knowing that, what was that like for you?
I think it was an interesting experience to be able to see where they lived. It was interesting to see a lot of the older wash grass and stuff.
They came right here, and this was where their tenement building was. We are here at 165 Christie Street, and this is where my great-grandmother, Antonina Sanfratello, first lived when she got off the boat from Ellis Island. I was able to find this information just this year when trying to obtain paperwork to get my dual citizenship. No one in my family knew exactly where she came immediately following her immigration. We're going to go next to my great-great-grandfather's place of residence prior to them getting married. So this is when Antonina came here, not married, came off the boat. She knew she was going to marry Giovanni, but she had to settle here with family at this residence. Today, this is a multi-million-dollar condo location, and it's hard to believe that at one time it looked like the tenement building that we just came from at the museum. Incredible. We found it. This was once the location of 178 Christie Street. Giovanni Anselmo would have lived where this park is located, but directly across the street would have been his love, Antonina they would have fallen in love right here on the streets of New York. So this used to be tenement buildings. It is now turned into a park. And next we're gonna try to find their first tenement together as a couple on Elizabeth Street. So after Antonina and Giovanni got married in 1901, they came to live right here at 243 Elizabeth Street, about 5 minutes from their families. We don't have any idea how many people lived in that tenement with them, but we do know, according to records, that this is where they called their first home. It's kind of hard to believe that a young couple like that would have just had their own private tenement. Chances are they shared with other people, probably relatives. Probably wasn't the most romantic situation for your first accommodations after being married, but I think at that time it was more about survival and less about a romantic bougie place to call your home. So directly across the street from the tenement building is Albany's Butcher Shop. And this butcher shop has a sole proprietor by the name of Mo Albanese. His mom, Mary, was born in 1904. And this means that the likelihood that the lady who originally owned Albanese Butcher Shop was probably held by my great-grandmother at some period of time, because this type of community would have been very connected to each other, especially since they lived right across the street. So I can imagine her coming over here to get her pork chops or her ground meats for her food, and then meeting with this young child, Mariana. It's one of those final relics of this area of what was once called Little Italy. This is one of the few places that our family owned and operated on the entire street today. It's been an interesting journey, been one of self-discovery, to learn about how many things these people had to face in order to just come here and start a new life. And I am grateful for the opportunity to consider myself an Italian American, and of course, to have married a Mennonite. And with that, thanks for watching.